My name's Ashleigh. I'm 28 years old. I am a student at Deakin University studying biomedical science. I do have a history in health as a operations manager and practice manager. Yeah, so sleep for me as a little girl was a bit challenging. I am actually an identical twin sister, and we were both sleepwalkers and sleep talkers. So sharing a room for 14 years, we would sometimes wake each other up with sleepwalking and talking, do some weird stuff. So when I entered early adulthood, my sleep changed pretty significantly. I went through a high period of stress, and that's when I started getting the hypnagogic hallucinations. So my understanding of it is I basically wake up in the middle of a nightmare, still thinking I'm in the nightmare, and I hallucinate the rest of it. So the first occasion my partner was standing over me screaming stop because I was hallucinating that I was getting kidnapped from bed. And then that sort of leveled out until 2016 when I entered sort of my 20s, and it just ramped up. The night terrors started happening more often than not. I would wake up screaming for no reason. I was scared to go to sleep. And that's just sort of continued, and that's where we are now, I suppose. The thought of sleeping would actually trigger adrenaline for me. So initially I was put on prazosin, which is a medication for blood pressure, but it was actually to stop my adrenaline response, because when that started kicking in, it would actually trigger more night terrors. I, at one stage, started recording myself to see what was happening during the night. And the anxiety listening back to those recordings, I couldn't anymore. I had to stop. I spoke to my psychologist about it. He said, stop. It's causing you more anxiety, and that fear just kept kicking in to go back to sleep. Like, it was impossible. You try and reach a hotline at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're on the phone for an hour and a half. They're so short-staffed, you can't get help at that time. There's no online messaging services that are open at 4 o'clock in the morning. So in your friends, you also don't want to wake someone up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be like, hey, I really need support right now. I'm in a really dark space. My housemate at the time pulled me aside one day and she said, hey, Ash, I don't really know how to approach this, but I've been hearing you wake up screaming the last few nights. I thought no one else knew. I didn't think it was affecting anyone else. And so as long as it was in my bubble, it stayed there. No one knew about it. But as soon as someone else could hear what was happening, it was time to start seeking treatment for it. I think I was 21, 22 when my friend heard me screaming. So for me, seeking help, I thankfully had a really good relationship with my GP, enough that I could bring the issues to him. So I did 2 avenues at the one time, went through the sleep and respiratory, through the hospital, and then through Monash Health base clinic. So from there, saw the sleep and respiratory physician. They organised sleep studies and spoke to me about the issues. Had the sleep studies, went to a neurologist to see if there was anything physically wrong with my brain that could be triggering this. And then the insomnia from the get-go was very clearly as a secondary response. It's very much a residual effect from the night terrors and the hallucinations that I was experiencing. Well, the fundamentals of sleep that I think the public generally goes along is that, okay, well, a few nights here and there is no problem. Sleep is something that can be easily given and retained, that you just sort of push through. A lot of people don't get sleep. Insomnia has become this trigger word that a lot of people use commonly. It does affect a whole bunch of other aspects biologically and externally in the public. If you're calling in sick because you need sleep for work, like, how do you explain that? It's not laziness. And a lot of I'm just going to take the day off as a mental health day is different to, hey, I actually haven't slept a wink of sleep. I need to sleep. It's so important for just, again, diet, exercise, living a healthy lifestyle. You end up prioritizing things throughout the week to try and prioritize where your sleep is needed most. But in my life, if I had a meeting Wednesday, I typically wouldn't sleep the Monday. I'd try and sleep as much Tuesday, do the meeting on Wednesday, and then try and catch up on sleep Friday, because I'm still, and it's not something I can choose. If that meeting's going to cause me anxiety, then that just adds to the anxiety of getting to sleep. So I might not even sleep the Tuesday before the meeting. It's a bit ridiculous when you say it out loud, but that's just what you have to do. I think for sleep health to be improved, it needs to be, well, funding needs to increase like 100%. You need more funding within the area to fund sleep studies, not just for sleep apnea, for other issues, but increasing awareness for people to go, hey, I'm not doing okay. Having it more diagnosed, funding psychologists and especially Lifeline, Kids Helpline, Beyond Blue, all of them for a longer period of time to target those people that are really struggling with sleep at, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because that's when they need help. But yeah, just more understanding and empathy, I think, is needed as a whole, but you can't have any of that without the funding and the professionals to stand behind it.